Good afternoon. Or good evening. I want to welcome you to another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Today is Monday, November the 27th, 2023. I hope everybody had a fine weekend, whether you celebrate Thanksgiving weekend or not. Some people do, some don't. But regardless, I hope you had a good weekend. Today's topic is going to be about quarterbacks. Do you have that dog in you or do you not? Now, what do I mean by dog in you? For those who don't watch sports or don't understand what I'm alluding to. That means, are you the guy who have the ability when the game's on the line to get it done? Are you the guy who everyone knows, hey, when the chips is down, this person is capable of getting the job done? No matter what you may personally think of them or whatever, no matter how the game may be going, do you have the ability to get the job done? I remember, and this is another sport, but it still applies to even football or any other sport. It was around 1998, if I remember correct, and the Chicago Bulls was playing the Utah Jazz in the finals. And the game was in Chicago. I forgot exactly which game it was, whether it was game like 3 or 4, whatever it was. But regardless, Isaiah Thomas, Bob Costas, and who was the other guy? Doug Collins was calling the game. And Michael Jordan kept going off, getting the ball in, just hitting shots, putting moves on, regardless who was defending him. Boom. Was just putting moves on them and putting the ball in the basket. And I remember Isaiah Thomas said an iconic line that I will never forget. And everyone knows that anybody who knows basketball or who watched basketball knows that Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan had a bad history. Okay, whatever the reason was for it, why it was, I'm not getting into that, but they did not have a good history together and didn't really care for each other. That said, but they had at least respect for each other's talent and ability. That said, I remember this iconic line that Isaiah Thomas said. If you let Michael Jordan beat you, he will. What does he mean? What did he mean by that? If you let that man, you don't double him, force him to give up the ball, he's going to beat you. He's one of those dudes who will take your heart out. He's that assassin. He is that dude. You better get that ball out of his hands. And so that's basically what Isaiah Thomas meant when he said what he said. And I'll never forget it. Now, transpose that to football, because again, you could transpose this to any sport or any walk of life, but particularly sports. If you let a guy beat you, he will. Now, certain guys, if you let them beat you, they will. Then there's others who, not so much. I'll give you a perfect example. Now, I like Justin Herbert. I am a fan of him. I like Josh Allen. I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of a lot of these quarterbacks in the NFL today. Some I like more than others, but generally I'm a fan of them. Now, earlier today, yesterday, and actually it was the 4:30 game, the game right before the Sunday night game. Bills versus the Eagles. Now, the Eagles did not have to win this game. The Eagles would still been in first place. But everyone knows because of the Bills' poor start during the season, because they were like 6-5, and a lot of those 5 losses was because of Josh Allen, they needed to win that game yesterday. That's what happens when you get off to a bad start, especially if you got a tough schedule down the stretch. You got to win games that, quite frankly, you either weren't supposed to win or not in a position to win. But nonetheless, Buffalo outplayed them for most of that game. For 3/4 of that game, they outplayed Philadelphia. They were the better team. But when Philadelphia put the pressure on them and came back, that's when I said, I want to see what Josh Allen is made of. So the Eagles kicked a 60-yard field goal to tie the game and send it to overtime. No problem. Buffalo got the coin flip. they got the ball first. Okay. Now, if you score a touchdown, game over. The other team doesn't even get the ball back. Well, excuse me. That's the rules in the regular season in the NFL. So they got the ball first. And he's driving down the field. Boom, boom, boom. Philadelphia's having a hard time stopping him. Then it was like 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, or whatever the down was and the distance. And he goes for the home run shot. Instead of just getting the first down, getting closer to put yourself in a position where you could get into the end zone, he goes for the home run shot. He misses. He threw to one area where he thought Gabe Davis would go, and Gabe Davis went into another area. That can happen. So they end up kicking the field goal, so now they're up 3. And I want to show you the difference between the guy who has that dog in him and the guy who doesn't. Now, Josh Allen, really, Buffalo should have a better record than what they have, but because of Josh Allen, he's reckless. And he's been reckless really his whole career, but he's shown himself to be very reckless. But in this game, he played very well. In this game, he outplayed Jalen Hurts, the other team's quarterback. But when it mattered the most, Jalen Hurts got the best of him. Because why? Philadelphia gets the ball back now in the overtime. Now they need at least 3 points or they lose the game. And what did Jalen Hurts promptly do? Boop, 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 boop. Drive right down the field and run in for the game-winning score. Because Jalen Hurts don't have to look pretty during the game. He don't have to put up gaudy numbers, 300-something yards. Josh Allen put up 300-something yards passing yesterday. Yeah, he lost the game. Because why? When the game was on the line, he didn't deliver. When he had a chance to deliver, his defense played well. They held Jalen Hurts to 177 yards passing. And yet they still lost the game because Jalen Hurts is that dude. And the man's playing on a bum leg. A big thigh bruise or something like that, but he's playing on a bum leg. And yet he still found a way to will his team to a victory. Now that brings me to another quarterback, Justin Herbert. And see, everybody wants to say, oh, Josh Allen is elite. Well, Josh Allen is elite. Josh Allen got to win those games. Games that are on the line, where your team's season could be on the line. You got to win those games. That's what elite level quarterbacks do. That's what they do. Then now Justin Herbert. A game you have to have. You've already got, 6, 7 losses going into the game. When you should have won the week before, but offensively you couldn't get it done when it mattered. Yeah, you putting up great numbers, but what I need when the game is on the line, I need that quarterback who can say, okay, fellas, we got this. This game is over. And then they go down and do, complete the task, get the team to at least at the very minimum a tie, if not win the game. Preferably win the game when you have a position to win the game. But at the very minimum, tie the game. So he couldn't do it last week against Green Bay, and this week against the Baltimore team. Now I want to show you something, and I'm going to show you how winnable this game was. The Chargers turned the ball over 4 times to Baltimore 0. When you lose the turnover battle that badly, the game is usually not that close. But yet Baltimore offensively wasn't doing anything. And the reasons for that is another topic for another day. But give the Chargers defense credit for keeping the team in the game, despite the fact that their offense was turning the ball over at an alarming rate yesterday. Okay? But they get Justin Herbert gets the ball back with over a little bit under 2 minutes to go, down 3. Justin Tucker, who is automatic as a kicker, as automatic as you're going to get, missed an easy made field goal. Couldn't believe it. Everybody was shocked. So instead of needing a touchdown, all you needed was just a field goal just to tie the game. Forget win it, just to tie it. Baltimore most likely would have taken it into overtime, and then you take your chances there. But instead, what did you do? You ended up driving down and didn't end up getting even the field goal because you turned the ball over again on down. And yet you got all these weapons. I don't want to hear the excuses. You can't keep blaming the head coach, Brandon Staley. He's an easy, low-hanging target fruit. It's easy to blame Brandon Staley. That's what I call lazy analysis. Brandon Staley was not the reason for the Chargers' last two defeats. Justin Herbert and their offense was. If you're supposed to be a top-end, top-flight quarterback, it's your job to find a way to get the job done. No excuses. Get it done. That's your job. You're supposed to be top flight. This is why I don't look at him as a top flight quarterback. I look at him, he's a good quarterback. But what separates the goods from the greats? That when it's on the time to the time to get it done, they find a way to get it done. That's what the greats do. And I want to show you another example. Now, no matter how you may personally feel about Deshaun Watson, and to me, that's my dude. But for others, he may not be your cup of tea for for what he's been allegedly accused of. Anyway, now the man has missed about 2 years worth of football, and then he came back last year. He missed about 11 games. Playing the last 6. He was very rusty. You could see it, just getting his legs underneath him. Then he comes back this year, and he had the first game statistically not too good against Cincinnati, but it's the first game, poor weather. Okay. The next game against the Steelers, the team won the game. But the next game against the Steelers, he was awful. The team lost the game. Then the third game against the Titans, the Tennessee Titans. He played arguably one of his best games, if not his best game, as a Brown, a Cleveland Brown, and they won the game. But in the process, he ended up tearing his rotator cuff, or at least they say damaging it. Tearing it, they called it a slight tear, but he could play. Instead of him resting for 4 weeks, which is what I thought they should have did, which was put him on the IR, really rest him until about the postseason. Because why? They're expected to get to the postseason, but that's when I need Deshaun Watson. I don't need Deshaun Watson in October, in early November. I need Deshaun Watson in December and January. That's when I need Deshaun Watson. But instead, they chose to put him in and out, in and out. And nonetheless, against Baltimore just a couple of weeks ago, so against the same defense that Justin Herbert couldn't get the job done against, Deshaun Watson, who really had a not too good first half, but in the second half of that game was like 14 for 14. That means third and fourth quarters. 14 for 14 for like 130 something, 150 something yards passing. Okay? And a touchdown. But forget the numbers. Throw those numbers out. Here's the big key. With them down 2 points, they needed a field goal to win the game. Now, mind you, he's doing all of this. He's playing this game, the second half of the game, literally with a torn rotator cuff. Literally. With a doctor, and see, it was so bad that he wanted to just take shots and continue playing the rest of the season. The doctor says if you do, and you take another hit to that shoulder, your arm can literally fall off. Literally speaking. So he was forced to shut it down. But before he shut it down, he led his team on a game-winning drive. That's what elite level guys do. Even when everything else is not going well around them and their numbers may not be spectacular, when the game's on the line, if you let this guy beat you, he will. It just reminds me back to that old Michael Jordan line. If you let this guy beat you, he will. Deshaun Watson with a torn shoulder, and people had the nerve to question his toughness, but that's neither here nor there. But with the game, that's how we judge quarterbacks. We don't judge quarterbacks because they put up 300 something yards. That's nice and good. We don't judge quarterbacks because they run for over 100 yards. That's nice and good. We don't judge quarterbacks for how many touchdowns they throw and all that is nice and good. Those are what I call ancillary stats. Here's how we judge quarterbacks at the end of the day. And Mike Tomlin said it best because Kenny Pickett wins, but he wins ugly. He says, I, the coach, and Pickett is judged by wins. Mike Tomlin said this. We're judged by winning. That's how we're judged. Did you get the job done when you had the opportunity to get it done? That's how you judge. That's how we judge quarterbacks. Did you get when the time to do the do, when the game on the line, did you get your team the victory or put them in position to get the victory? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then we got to question just how good you really are. It doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that you're not elite. Because elite guys consistently, not all the time, there's going to be times when you fail, but for the most part, consistently is able to get it done. That's how we judge our quarterbacks. Game on the line, I want that guy who says, give me the ball and get out the way. That's that basketball phrase. Give me the ball, get out the way. I got this. Game on the line. Up until that point, I give everybody else, allow everybody else to do what they do. But with the game on the line, I want the ball in this man's hand. Because why? That's his job to get it done. And I keep hearing about this. Well, this guy's an offensive coach. This guy's a defensive coach. Let me explain something to you, folks. That's a bunch of malarkey. And I'm trying not to curse because I'm trying to keep it as PC as possible. But that's a bunch of malarkey. It doesn't matter what side of the ball the head coach comes from, as long as his side is getting the job done. So if you're a defensive-minded head coach, your side of the ball, the defense had better be good. If you're an offensive-minded head coach, your side of the ball, the offensive side had better be good. That's your job. And if that side's not good, the side that you're supposed to be a specialty on, then that means you're not as good of a coach. Just keep it real. Okay. And so Brandon Staley going to lose his job because generally people don't look at his side of the ball as getting it done. But I'm also saying the other side of the ball isn't getting it done either. But there's this narrative out there, and the Colin Cowherds and all these other guys, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, and all these other guys. Oh, excuse me with this. Well, this guy's from the offensive side of the ball, or this guy's from the deep. That's a bunch of nonsense. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at the end of the day, it's about stops, getting stops, and keep from getting stopped. Did you get the job done? Because let me explain something to you. If it was all about offense, look at just what happened down there in Carolina. They had a defense after they got rid of the prior head coach there. Okay, Steve Wilkes took over as the interim. Matt Rule was the prior head coach, by the way. Matt Rule was the prior head coach. They got rid of him, and they brought in Steve Wilkes. Well, Steve Wilkes was already on the staff, but he was the defensive coordinator, so they just elevated him to head coach. He went 6-6 with a rotation at the quarterback spot. He went 6-6. Not great, not bad, but pretty good considering the level of talent he had around him. Now, the team, the players, and the media, down there in Charlotte, North Carolina, was like, hire this man to be the full-time guy. So what did the owner, David Tepper, did? No, I want an offensive guy because why? He's listening to the Colin Cowherds of the world instead of going and hiring the good people and trusting them to do their job. He go and listen to the Colin Cowherds of the world. Oh, this league is becoming more offensive, and you need a more offensive guy. Even though the league is already as offensive as you can get, because damn it, they got. I mean, the rules are set up for the offense, and scoring is down this year, but that's neither here nor there at the moment. But instead of staying with Steve Wilkes, he decided, oh, I want to go get an offensive guy, and he went and got the disposed of Frank Wright, who just got fired in Indianapolis. Now, I'm not saying Frank Wright's a bad coach, but what I'm saying is the owner, Tepper, should have just stayed with Steve Wilkes. Wilkes was doing a good job, and a damn good job at that. But instead, you went and got an offensive head coach, only to fire him after 12 guys because 12 games, not 12 guys, sorry, 12 games because your offense was putrid. His side of the ball was putrid. So if it's all about the offense, then Frank Reich should have not been able to. He should have been able to be successful. And don't give me this. Well, Carolina don't have no talent. That's that's nonsense. Before the season started, everyone said he was at the best, going to the best location, which was Carolina over Houston. People looked at Houston as a dumpster fire, who said they were terrible. This is what the national media and everybody was saying. Now they want to flip the script and say how much talent Houston has. Houston don't have that much talent. They don't. They don't have that much talent, Houston. But yet you got an elite level quarterback in C.J. Stroud, who, hey, he's top billing, and he's making the talent look better than what it is that he has around him. That's what good quarterbacks do. And if it's all about the offense, then how do you explain Pittsburgh, who has arguably, outside of the Jets, one of the worst offenses in the league as far as production is concerned, yet they're sitting in second place in that division, in the toughest division in the sport, the AFC North. And they look like they're going to be a playoff team, though they have little to no offense. Because why? At the end of the day, folks, it's still about, can your defense get stops when it needs to? You can't win in this league without playing some defense. That's just the reality. You got to have what we call complementary football: offense, defense, and special teams. If one of those three is lacking, you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have problems. The point that I'm getting at is that it doesn't matter what side of the ball the head coach come from. The only thing we're gonna judge by your head coach by is he winning football games, especially games that maybe he should not have won or wasn't supposed to win. Because it's easier to win the games you're supposed to win. It's much more challenging when you're winning games you wasn't supposed to win, which means you wasn't favored to win, or you was just lucky to win. When you're consistently getting lucky, it's not luck. After a while, it is what it is. I want to thank you for watching another segment of the Jermaine Brown Sports Talk Show. Press that like and subscribe button if you can. And if you can, also leave a comment. Thank you very much.